Hey, everybody, you're going to want to listen all the way through this episode because we're going to hear about an artist who went around the world and she still couldn't find her baby, but also how one great big hatchet has been buried and that maybe there's new music coming out of Elton John and Madonna.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
You're also going to find out why 90s Now is a Mariah Carey friendly zone. You're welcome, Lamely. Enjoy the show, everyone.
Well, hey, everyone, we're back to tackle another week in past tense in the best way possible with 90s Now. Kelly?
Yes.
How now are you feeling versus how 90s you're feeling?
This week, there's been a lot of back and forth, I would say. Like
That's good.
I've seen some good current news and then some from the past. So it's all happening.
Fantastic. That's a positive spin on a mood swing. What we're going to do is revisit an unforgettable Grammy moment from last year and what it meant to the original songwriter to be honored through the new version of her now classic, which itself as the new version is classic. Also, Will Smith is angling nostalgia as the root of why we'll need to see his tour. Kelly's Trivia will test your skills like you didn't even know they needed to be tested so well. And the rumors are getting stronger about a Spice Girls reunion tour. So we're going to talk about that. But when a hatchet such as the rift between Elton John and Madonna gets buried, we've got to start there.
Mm-hmm.
This is big, man. Elton John and Brandi Carlile are everywhere. Hard to miss. This brand new album is so good.
Yeah.
The funny thing is that he talks about this album as being, not typical Elton John. And I wouldn't say that it's typical, but it's completely Elton John and it's completely Brandi Carlile. It's such a nice melding of the two. And like I was telling you before, Kelly, I think I've seen everything on it. I listened to the album first, and then I watched them on Saturday Night Live, watched them on Stephen Colbert, watched the 30-minute or 35-minute thing on YouTube, the behind the scenes thing, which is really cool. And then there was also a thing on network television, kind of like a Q&A and performance thing that Dan Levy hosted. That was also very good. So some really great in-depth insight into this amazing album. And it really is. I'm not overstating it. It's very good. So worth the listen. I cried a couple of times just listening, and I was doing other things too. I was trying to just let it into my space at that time, and it got me, man. And I'm an old school Elton John fan too, because of when I grew up. It's got all of it. That said, them playing on Saturday Night Live was also incredible, and one of I would imagine that would have been the kind of show that lots of celebrity fans would have been trying to get into. Hey, calling in a favor, right? Hey, can I come, please?
Yeah.
But one of them that managed to make her way in was Madonna.
Isn't that crazy? That's amazing.
Yeah, and it makes sense because she herself, as an artist, a songwriter, a performer, has always cited Elton John as an influence, an inspiration, all the positive things. And yet, when you hear Elton John talk about her, it's not always positive, is it?
Not in the past, no.
No, but everything's changed.
Everything's changed. And it feels like Madonna did this as like a reconnaissance mission. And then it turned out into like getting a full-blown apology. So it worked out. It worked out. And she, because she, like, I had heard in the past, and maybe you heard more than I did, Sharon, but I remember like back in the day, I had heard that he had said comments about her, but I'd only heard like one time. But apparently he said at least two different times he made comments about her live performances not being live. And then
Right.
another snarky remark in a similar vein, from what I gather. And obviously that stuck with her, which is, because like that would be like, yeah, like that would be if Janet said something about me, like I would be so
Be
sad.
heartbroken. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be heartbroken. So I think it was great that for whatever, because clearly I feel like the universe intervened, because it was like something compelled Madonna to go to Saturday Night Live and go backstage, and then immediately it sounded like things were, handled.
Well, he pulled the plug on it too, because she went there basically to confront him to say, hey, what's up? And he was like, forgive me, please.
Yeah.
So, like, where do you go from that?
Hmm.
You move forward and hopefully in a positive way. The idea that he would have had, I think snarky is the exact right word, by the way,
Hmm.
for him to have been snarky, you know what? He's not known for being snarky, do you know? But he is known for being supportive of other artists.
Hmm.
And I don't know why he would have chosen to not be supportive of, someone as some, Madonna. Like, I don't even know how to describe her in this moment. She's huge.
Yeah.
She's an influence. She's impactful. She is artistic in her approach to everything. So
Yeah.
that to me would be something that he could really align himself with. But who knows? Maybe he was being petty, and maybe it got the best of him. And he's used to a certain amount of freedom of speech.
Yeah.
You get to a point, I guess, where you can get away with saying anything, but once it has to hurt enough for someone like Madonna, I think, to sort of get to this point in her life and her career to finally say, "What the heck," you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. And the thing is like well, you and I have heard before, some of the, we'll call them riffs that he's had. And like, I mean, you and I were just talking before we started recording that, I don't think, unless, things change that I don't know about, but I think he and George Michael were not really close. Or even, I don't know, were they even talking when George passed away? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Because they had a rift. And I think I had heard years ago, and I don't know if it's true or not, but I think, because Elton had got sober, he was trying to
Help
impart
George.
some of that thing with George, which again I think is great. And Elton, as we know, helped Eminem and probably a bunch of
Yep.
other people. I think Eminem is. I think Elton is still Eminem's sponsor, or was, like, back in the day. So I'm pretty sure I remember reading that. So we'll say allegedly, but I'm pretty sure. So yeah, so Elton has had his moments, but then, and that's why it's such a weird, like, it's such a weird thing for us to even say that, like, he's been snarky with Madonna, but then he's been amazing in other regards. Like, he really, because he's so supportive of Chapel Roan,
Oh
for
yeah.
like, super supportive. I remember he was super supportive of a song that we were playing. I think it was a group called
Mm-hmm.
Surface a few years ago, and the song was called Sunday Service, I believe it was. And he jumped on that early. Like, Elton is so on the ball about up and coming artists and what the new sound is and what's going on, and being very supportive. That's why it's kind of crazy that we do have a situation that he had with Madonna, because, like, you would have thought they're kindred spirits in a way.
Yeah.
So,
Well, the thing that was on CBS the other night, network television for those who are solely streaming their
yep.
content,
Hmm.
um, there were it was Chapel Rowan, Ed Sheeran, and Dua Lipa, who all read letters to him. They sent the video message of a letter they had wrote to him and read to him, just as a thanks for being so instrumental and influential and caring and concerned and a friend
Hmm.
to these very significant artists of today. And Dua's been around, I guess, the longest, and Ed Sheeran, and Chapel's enjoying her ride right now. I mean, they're all still very successful, but he's been there for these people in a way that maybe at a time when Madonna was on the rise, she didn't need him.
Mm.
Maybe she did, though. Like, but maybe he wasn't in a place at that time, that would have been 82, 83, to have been the kind of support that would have been healthy.
Right.
Maybe he himself at that time in his life wasn't ready for it. And then you get to a point where you presume that the person doesn't need you. And then maybe you come up with your own snark that, whatever the opposite of compliment that is.
Mhm.
So I think it's great that it just happened, that she owned it in a way that she wanted to get to the bottom of it, because you could just spend your life going, what the heck, what did I do, and not really go to the source. But she went to the source, and I think that's
Yeah.
brave, and brave to forgive too.
Yeah, and especially going to that source, because as we know, depending on the time of the day, he may not be snarky. So he may have received it well, like he did in this particular instance, or he could have been like, F off,
Yeah.
get out of my dressing room. So
Yep. I think he's reached a few points in his life now at this stage of his life. His career is not over. He's just not touring. Clearly not over because this brand new album is called Who Believes in Angels. It's him and Brandy Carlisle. His backing band is super impressive. What I think he's got the artistic freedom to do whatever he wants.
Mhm.
Not that he didn't before, but now he doesn't have the pressure of having to tour and having to do this. And the approach to this album was, it seemed cathartic because there were, fits of anger in the not hidden cameras, but behind the scenes looks.
Mhm.
You kind of forget that the cameras are there, which is great for the viewer because you get to see everything. There were moments of tears, frustration, everything. But I think great art doesn't come easy. And clearly, this is something spectacular. The backing band, by the way, so Elton John and Brandy Carlisle alone would have been great.
Mhm.
Her two dudes, the twins, Phil and Tim, the brothers. Then there's Andrew Watt, multi-instrumentalist producer of the album. He was on guitar. Chad Smith of the Red Hot Chili Peppers on drums. You also got your Josh Klinghoffer, very subdued in any parts of the doc, and also on this performance, the Q&A thing on CBS. He formerly of the Red Hot Chili Peppers too. He was on keyboards and stuff, so it was like incredible, all-star talent.
And I have to give a massive shout out to Andrew Watt because obviously I don't know how many years in a row now he's been like producer of the year and like won Grammys like and all that stuff. And he's young too, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
and it was interesting watching the behind the scenes that's out on YouTube that you can watch of the process or them listening back the album listening party.
Yeah.
And I think Andrew Watt is probably the best producer to work with Elton because he's so like fun and driven and like talented that I think and I feel like his demeanor, because he's kind of like an excited puppy, right?
Yes.
Like the vibe you get from Andrew Watt, that he handles Elton's mood swings
Well.
in the studio well. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And knows, I think, when to push or when to back off, how to say it so Elton doesn't, take a fit or, take it wrong or whatever. I just think he's the best producer to handle Elton, in my outside opinion.
And it works in his favor too, in Andrew Watt's favor, when you think of how Elton's approach to young not arts, but young artists is. Andrew Watt's been around a while, but he's young and energetic, and he's got great ideas, and he doesn't seem to take crap.
Yeah.
Not in a bad way. Just he's open to being constructive and to being honest. And I think that when you get to the point of being Elton John, maybe you're not faced by people who are strong enough to deliver honesty.
Right.
You know, you got, and that's the trouble with that certain level of celebrity. It gets them in trouble because they end up being surrounded, whether or not they do it to themselves or not. They're around yes people,
Mhm.
which isn't healthy in any way.
Yeah.
You need someone to be honest and straight with you.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And what I don't know, he's such a talent, Andrew Watt. And so I think it was quite the force that put this project together. And a shout out also to Brandy for being her
Oh,
and also knowing how to
incredible.
handle Elton. So
Yeah. And
yeah.
the fact that they've been friends for so long, and he was an early supporter of hers, and she bravely wrote him a letter as a new artist saying, "Hey, would you like to, sing on my album?" And he was like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
Like imagine they joke that a lot of people are going to be writing letters now
Yeah, that's true.
looking for his help.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
And just a shout out too, like you said, back to Madonna, like a collaboration could be coming out of this.
that would be cool
So
because look at all the things, all the collabs that he did with Dua and Britney and that whole album during COVID. That a lot of fun stuff came out of that. So, and he's totally down with it, which is amazing. This is a guy that's been doing it for more than 50 years, and
yeah.
he's interested in the new thing.
Yeah.
You know, he doesn't disrespect what's happened in the past or music that he loved, but he's what gets him going, he said it, is the new stuff and that people that are creating in that way. So he's in the exact right spot at the exact right time of his life, and we are lucky to have that.
Yeah, and last thing before you move on, I just in that YouTube behind the scenes thing, I believe that's where I saw it. I don't know if it was Bernie that was explaining how Elton, or was it Brandy that explains how Elton takes in the lyrics and then processes it to then write the music. And I
Mm-hmm.
never knew this, but what I saw was that, or heard, was that he views the lyrics almost as like a movie scene
Mm-hmm.
and then scores it in how he sees it. And like then that made all kinds of sense to me. I was like, of course that's how, like, because you always wonder like how does he keep coming up with music for what Bernie writes him, you know?
Well, what's cool about the way Bernie writes too is that it's quite visual. If you look at the lyrics without the music, you can see that you can see why they connect in that way. And then when you further to what you've said, you can see why it wasn't probably difficult for him to, you know, do Lion King
Mhm.
and to do that very well.
Yeah.
You know, it's gosh, what a time! Like honestly, I felt I was trying to figure out how I felt about the way the album made me feel, and I think that that's what it did. It made me feel,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I felt good, and I felt sad, and I felt like like rejuvenated. It was something, man. I highly recommend it. It's called Who Believes in Angels, and to hear Brandy Carlisle sing, she can hit it, man. She can grab you by the shirt, shake you, and and at the same time make you melt in your own tears. It's incredible.
Yeah.
There's one song that I would advise, at least one, but the whole album, start to finish, solid. Um, you Without Me.
Okay.
My eyebrows can't get any higher, and
Yeah.
I'm trying not to cry. It's so good.
Okay. Give it a
Yeah,
listen. I've
it's
listened
written.
I've only listened to two tracks so far, so I look forward to the rest.
It's written from her perspective as a parent,
Okay.
but I think it provides clarity for anybody who's ever had one,
Okay.
even if you are one.
Right.
It's such a generational connecting song. It's something, man. So that we'll look forward to any news that new music news from Elton John and Madonna, should that be a thing. Until then, we've got this new album called Who Believes in Angels with Elton John and Brandy Carlisle. We've also got trivia.
Watch out, folks. Sharon, just before we start, I did want to give a shout out to our new um, Mariah Carey fans that are following the show now,
Ooh.
because we got some really nice, sweet messages on various channels. Um, After we released our last episode of the show where we talked a lot about Mariah Carey at the beginning and how, she potentially is in this new relationship, like fingers crossed, with Anderson .Paak and all that sort of good stuff, and just how much we love Mariah. And clearly, some Mariah Carey fans from the Lamely got a hold of our episode and have been telling other Lamely members to start tuning in and watching 90s Now. So welcome to the Lamely family here.
Yay.
On
Thanks,
90.
everybody.
We don't have a fan group name. Didn't we talk about doing that once? I think, but
It's
we need
possible.
like a group name.
The
Yeah.
the Hapsters. How about that? Anybody can be hip. Can you be happening?
Yeah, that's pretty good.
We're still
So yeah,
happening.
just a shout out to them, and we appreciate you coming on board. And yes, this is a very much a very Mariah friendly zone here.
It's true. I'm not sure if you could tell by our giddiness of talking about the
Yeah.
possibility of Mariah and Anderson .Paak being an item. I think just the music that would come from them would be incredible. So, yeah, welcome,
Yeah. And
welcome.
also
Everybody's welcome here.
I didn't put it in our stories this week, but a story came up for me when I was on air that her son Moroccan Scott was doing a Twitch like live stream or something recently. Did you see that
Yep.
story?
I have not seen it.
So he was doing this, and then I don't know exactly what the context was, but his sister Anne Mariah came into the background of it, and he has a lot of fans that were following, him and whatever they were. I don't know if it was a game they were doing, but or like a video game thing. But anyways, all of a sudden you start hearing people going, "Hi, Miss Carrie, please stick around," and he's like,
Uh,
"Leave, leave!" Like,
yeah. Ma!
yeah. But it was so funny to hear all these people like chiming in, calling her Miss Carrie, like
Oh,
in the
wow.
audio clip. It was just so cute. And then she comes over and did a little wave or something, and then like he was like mortified and
Of course. That's great. Well, that's the great thing about that is that A, she did it, and B, if her kid is mortified, then she's parenting
yeah,
properly.
exactly. So good job, Mariah
Oh.
Carey. And yes, a very Mariah Carey friendly zone here on 90s Now. So
Yeah.
new cards this week, Sharon. News and politics and hobbies, toys, and games. Which one would you like to start with?
That can't be good. News and politics.
Here we are. I think you're going to get this one. I'm quite confident.
Oh,
Uh,
good.
who gained control of North Korea in 1994 after the death of his father?
Oh, is it Kim Jong-un?
Close.
Oh, is it Soo-Kyin Lee from Much Music? No. Kim Jong
Yes, you had
Il.
it. Kim
Il.
Jong-il.
Yeah.
Good job, Sharon.
Yay. Well, I was wrong, and then I threw Soo-Kyin Lee in there to mess it all up.
Buy yourself some time. Yeah. So over to hobbies, toys, and games.
I'm
What
one
was
for one. Go on. Yeah.
what was the name of Sonic the Hedgehog's awesome fox sidekick?
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God, this is such a fun name.
Um, I don't know. Speed Demon? I don't know.
Cool. Tails.
Oh, cute.
Isn't that cute for a Foxy Loxy? By the
It's
way,
Foxy Loxy is my handle on.
yeah,
Just kidding. It's not.
um, I was some clip of a Golden Girls thing came up on my Instagram the other day, so I watched it, and then of course my whole feed got full up of like Golden Girls.
Nice.
I've started following a bunch of Golden Girl fan clubs on Instagram. Sharon, it's the best thing ever. So to anyone, just Google Golden Girls, or sorry, I should say, like, find it on your Instagram and then watch one, and then you'll get a ton of these Instagram groups. And I swear to God, like, I was feeling a little down in the dumps the other day for a hot minute. And so I put it on, and right away I was like dying. Like, the show is so fun, even though it was over in 1992. Like, it's still
Yeah.
current, it's still cool. It's amazing.
It's what they call evergreen, but they should change it to evergray.
Yes, exactly.
Ah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right. Also evergreen, I feel, will be the Spice Girls, and so that when any level of or shred of a rumor that gets tossed our way, we're like hungry little beavers because we're Canadian.
Yeah.
Um, with what's going to happen? Is it going to happen? Mel C is the one that's guilty of not even subtly mentioning the possibility of a tour.
Mhm.
But it's 30 years next year since the release of Wannabe. We have to do something special. Obviously, I can't say too much, but we are talking about things. Hopefully, a nice little world tour. That's a quote from Mel C.
Yeah.
A
But
nice little world tour.
here's the thing though. They have dangled the carrot so many times now.
I know. I love it.
Yeah, but they need to now come through. Like because like
Yeah.
because like I mean I know because I feel like because I think they went out in 2019, right, when they did those UK shows just before pandemic. They did like 8 of them
Right.
or something, or 12. There was only like
Yes.
Ireland and in the UK. And then pandemic hit, of course. But to me, like over the years, then as we know, Mel B, who I love profusely, is always yammering about like things that are going on. But like they have to come through on this. Like
Yep.
they need to come through. And I think they mentioned further in the article that we were reading that it would be a collective, like the full collective with Victoria Posh.
As it should be.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the other quote is we have to start making plans right now and putting them into action. So fingers crossed is
Mhm.
what Mel C said. Now,
Yeah.
here's another mind blow if you haven't done the math yourself. 2019 was 6 years ago.
I know, right?
That's bonkers.
I know.
Like, honestly, it's 1 year today of the recording of this show since the solar eclipse.
Yep.
which also was a bonkers situation to be sitting there in the sun and then all of a sudden it's dark and cold outside. What?
It's crazy.
Um, it's also 5 years since the pandemic, which we were just referring to. Like a lot of time has passed.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, if ever there were a time where we would need the Spice Girls to give us what we want, what we really, really want, it's now.
It is now. And by the way, I love Mel C so much because I follow her on Instagram and like she's like this, like she's such a bad bunny. You know what I mean? Like she's off doing like she's she takes care of herself. Like she'll often post videos of like after her workout or yoga, and then she's posting her like in the clubs DJing and being like a superstar. And then other times she's posting like pictures of like her on stage, maybe doing some vocals because often she doesn't, she's DJing, she doesn't use it, but she was doing a performance not long ago. And then you might see, I think I've seen a picture of her dog, maybe where she said she missed her dog, something like that. But it's just like I'm so proud of her because knowing all the struggles that she went through, and I mean, she's still for sure, everybody's a human and they go through struggles, but I'm so happy for her. It just feels like she has the best balance now. And obviously, being a mom still and all that stuff, like, I just feel like she's earned it. She has such a good vibe, and people love when she comes and DJs. Like, love,
Mm-hmm.
like, she is an in-demand DJ, which is amazing.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of time, if we go, we did all that time calculation. Let's go even further to 2009,
Mhm.
which is the last time that Tracy Chapman has toured.
Crazy.
I don't want to show off, but that's 16 years ago. That's a long time ago. So when Tracy Chapman and Luke Combs performed her song, Fast Car, on the Grammys last year, it was a moment. We all watched it. Incredible. If you haven't watched it, you can find it online easily. It did everything to pay tribute to the original, her original, acknowledged that Luke Combs, did such a great job doing the cover of that. I think, doing it kind of note for note, like he didn't change anything, right? Um, to make it his biggest hit so far, even though it was a song that he kind of threw on there because he always loved the song. He grew up listening to it. I think there's a connection with his dad. So the song was just put on. It happened to be the biggest song from that album, obviously.
Mhm.
And like I said, that Grammys appearance was a moment to behold. Now, um, what's great about it is that we're still talking about it, right?
Yep.
That she herself, revisits this moment and feels like kind of can't believe it's happened. She said that you could feel the audience reaction, but she tried to not get distracted by the people in the crowd. And she said, but I sensed it. I think some part of it too is that it was fun.
Hmm.
And I think that's a credit to the Grammys over the past few years. They've done those really cool pairings of artists that make watching the show compelling. It's like a total
Yep.
carrot on the stick, like the Spice Girls have done all these years, teasing a tour. You know that there's going to be something cool happening, and it really was to
Mhm.
get to see them together. She said the crazy thing about events like that is that you plan and you plan and you plan. It took a lot to put the whole thing together, and then it's just over in an instant. So
Yep.
you have to be in that moment to enjoy that moment.
It's crazy how like it's very much about being in the moment.
Such is life,
We're so
right?
deep here. We're so deep here.
It's true. um, I want to make sure we get to everything that we said we would get into. And um, was it what? I think I've lost my thing here. Was it Will Smith?
It's Will Smith. Yep.
Based on a True Story is the name of the new album, right?
Correct.
So to give you some more of the now in our 90s now offering, he's very excited to be going on a world tour. And he's pretty psyched to bring the nostalgia back because he feels that that's what's needed today. I'm not sure where we're missing that, but I appreciate that he's trying to drum up some interest in his tour, and I think there will be some. I think that it's interesting that one smack, the ripple effect of one smack in the face, is having him probably work harder than ever before to get seen again.
Yeah. Well, because I think on certain levels, like he's had to take a backseat with his acting right now. on some level. Like he's definitely done.
It's had to be because he's not getting hired. Is that why?
I don't, well, I know, didn't I think they did release a film though after it happened, right? Because it was already in production or was already in editing or something. So I know
Yeah,
that, but I think he's made a pivot like on purpose to try to just maybe get like, I mean, this is my opinion, but I feel like he's done a pivot to create some space between his acting career and letting any kind of hype. I mean, it's been already, what is it, 2 years already since it happened? So, I think a lot, but it's still following him as it will for the rest of his
for
career,
sure. Yeah, it's one of those things.
which is sad, that that has to be the case, but he did it. So there we are. Um,
Yep.
but yeah, like, and I think this album is very much introspection because some of the lyrics definitely deal with, I think, what happened and the fallout and all that stuff. That's what this album, I think, it's not fully about that, but I think it's the ripple effect of everything that came because of it. And it was interesting because an article I read, they asked him, I think, would he ever try to appeal his ban from the Oscar situation because he has a 10-year ban. So I guess now
Hmm.
he's down to 8 years or 9 years or whatever it is at this point. And he didn't fully answer the question. So I'm wondering if I don't know, this again, this is me hypothesizing, like, will he hope another few years goes by and then he might be able to try and quietly appeal that he gets back in there quicker than the full 10 years? I don't know.
I find it interesting that I don't know, on some level, like, you think of criminals
Mm,
who are sentenced to jail and then they get, out early for good behavior. Is it that thing? Does he need to be at the Oscars though? Like, is
I
that?
don't know. It was just interesting, like it was just the way the article was read. It was interesting to me that he gave a non-answer. He legitimately gave a non-answer. It was like
Hmm.
he pivoted away from it and was like, I'm just, trying to be a better person, something to that effect. But if
Right.
it was, if I feel like if he wasn't going to appeal it, he'd just be like, no, like I'm not going to appeal it. Like, I'm going to serve this out just to put
Hmm.
a full stop to it,
Yeah,
because now it's only ambiguous and the question's going to come up again. So
for
that's
sure.
why and I'm sure that, I'm sure he's paying some high-priced PR people to help him deal with these things. But to me, it was a striking non-answer to not
Right.
just to be like to pivot away because I was like, I feel like in the position you have put yourself in, that you should either have a strong answer either
Yeah.
at this.
Well, that's the thing. It's not for a lack of effort that put him in this position. It was all him.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So you sort of have to take the consequences of your actions. And
And also
uh,
too, the tour, I don't know if you saw, like at the moment, it's only overseas right now, like for us overseas, meaning like it's in like I know he's going to France, going to Italy, the UK, a few other countries, Germany, I think. And my pondering of that is that does he want to see, because I'm wondering if over there, because it's over there, the
yeah.
stuff was less over there,
Hmm.
like because yes, it was felt around the world, but he doesn't live there. It's not American culture over
Right.
there, all that stuff. So I wonder if he's trying to see how ticket sales go and then
Hmm.
see if it's worthwhile for him to try to do dates here in the States and Canada.
I would agree with you 100%. The fact he's talking also about how the reaction's been very positive, and the whole idea of nostalgia. He said the world wants that so bad. Nostalgia. He said it's like people are just yearning for a time when things were a little bit easier,
Mhm.
and it's true. And the funny thing is, not to belabor a point, but we want we all want an easier time. We want a time where Will Smith didn't think it was okay to go up there and smack Chris Rock in the face for making a really run of the mill joke,
Right.
you know?
Mhm.
And stuff happens, and then you have to deal with it. And then
Mhm.
if you have to answer a question, the question, or some version of the same question every time, that's too bad. That's what happens.
Mhm. Yeah.
But he would be wise to answer the question and just be a little more decisive than you were saying he was, which is not at all.
It just was really striking to me. I was like, oh, I'm like, I would have answered that one way or the other, I think, just to stop it, just to stop that question coming again, because
Yeah.
he's going to get this now every
Yep.
year. So,
Exactly. And it wouldn't show well actually if he said, "Well, I will try to appeal for good behavior," and that wouldn't look good at all.
yeah, no,
He wouldn't wear it well, Cal.
would not know.
Let's make sure I haven't forgotten anything before I take you down a little more down nostalgia road, and I haven't. So let's get to it. We'll do your 90s rewind and go back to the very beginning of our favorite decade,
Nice.
which is springtime 1990. What
Woo.
a time it was, Kel. Think about this, and I usually grab a handful of songs, which is around five or six, but I couldn't not do some of the songs because timing wise, Jane Child was in my head for some reason. And in a moment, I heard the song and I couldn't remember in that moment what her name was. And it was bugging me. And I didn't want to check the internet. And then in typical fashion, I'm thinking, I know the song and I'm singing the song. I know her name. I know her name. And then squirrel, and I totally forgot.
Yeah.
So like a week later, I grabbed these songs. I'm like, Jane Child, there it is. So we were totally digging on her around this time in 1990. And didn't she have that earring,
That was
nose ring with the chain combo?
a lot.
Always struck me as a really scary possibility that someone's going to get caught and rip her ear off her head or her nose off her face. Danger, Kelly.
Danger.
Anyways, great song called Don't Want to Fall in
Such great.
Love. How about we drop another Canadian name on you? Alana Miles.
Woo, love her.
Woohoo. And Black Velvet was making her a star cross borders. She was already a star here in Canada, but she was getting some attention with that great song. Co-written by Christopher Ward,
Oh,
VJ on Much Music. That's too much music drops in this show, Kel.
yeah.
Get up, get busy, do it. Come on, Technotronic.
Yep.
Yeah. Doesn't this feel totally 1990? How about Lisa Stansfield?
Uh,
She'd been
love
around the world and she couldn't
Yeah.
find her baby. Like she went around the world and she couldn't find her baby. Phil Collins, I Wish It Would Rain Down. Come on. That was a song and a half right there. Luther Vandross gave us one of the most popular wedding songs of our favorite decade with Here and Now.
Such a good song.
Such a good song. Prince got some attention with the gigantic hit that Sinead O'Connor made of his Nothing Compares to You. But the number one song on the charts this time in 1990 was from the great Taylor Dane and Love Will Lead You Back.
So epic.
Oh, it's a heartbreaker.
I played that song like I wore my cassette out. Yeah. And
That's
also
what happens.
her song Shelter. God, I love that song.
Want me to sing it?
Do it.
No, just kidding. I wouldn't want to wreck it. Honey, I need a shelter. What a voice. Taylor Dane. And Taylor Dane still having her moment too. She had all of 2024, I think was hers, right?
Yeah,
Or
that's
2023? Anyways, it spilled over. She's enjoyed the past few years of being um, heard and sampled and redone and sassed up. All
yeah.
very good. So no surprise that she was number one with Love Will Lead You Back around this time in 1990. And that is your 90s rewind.
Good job, Sharon. And just speaking of early 90s, I must give a shout out yet again. I'm not sure if you've had the opportunity yet to listen, but our good buddy, Miss Crystal Waters, you must check out her house song, You and Me. It is
I did.
absolutely fantastic. Remixes are out now. Um, she's been like doing all these different like spaces and like interviews, and she was in Miami for, oh my God, was it Winter Music Conference in the last like, and that's all, all the big EDM stars go there. And I'm so happy for her. Like this is such a big song for her. This is such a big song. So definitely check it out, Crystal Waters, You and Me.
It is very good. I did listen. It was last show that you suggested we do that, and I got right on it and loved it.
Good, eh?
Yeah.
It's crazy because it's like early's Crystal in 2025. Like it's
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, Crystal Waters is an artist who knows herself, that's for sure. And she knows how to deliver. That's
Yeah.
also for sure. So
She's also
la-
super like you can see it in her I haven't seen her this excited in a while. Like when she's been doing these social media posts, like she's so in it and she's very excited for the album that's coming. We're still waiting on a release date, but yeah, cannot wait.
sweet. Right on. Well, thanks again to our new Mariah fans.
Yep.
Hopefully you found some love for the other things that we were talking about today. Thanks to everybody who finds us on a regular on the regular, I should say, wherever it is that you do that. We appreciate it. I think this is the cue. I said,
Yeah.
I said what I said and Shadow stood up. So so ends the show. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening to 90s Now. Still happening.